Well, good morning. Thank you so much for being here on this beautiful day, Juneteenth, 2024. My name is Jamie Maravich, and I am the CEO and President of the United Way of Greater McHenry County, and we are just honored to have you here today. This is the first time we're doing an event like this, and I applaud you all for coming because none of you know what to expect because you've never seen this done before. And we're just so happy to be able to bring this experience to you. We have an amazing panel of wonderful individuals and a phenomenal moderator that'll walk us through this day. This day is about unity, it's about learning, it's about growing, it's about understanding, and that's everything that we're about at the United Way. If you're not familiar with us at the United Way of Greater McHenry County, what we do is we look to mobilize the caring power of community to improve lives and to make McHenry County a better place to work, live, and play. We do this by raising funds that benefit over 50 local programs that are focused upon education, health, and economic mobility. And we also have some programs that directly help, like our partnership with the Dolly Parton's Imagination Library that provides free books to children's age 0 to 5 in the community, our 211 hotline that provides resource information for everyone who needs it and doesn't know where to turn, and also our Ride United program that provides free deliveries from food pantries. So we appreciate your support and your partnership. You're all here because you're wonderful contributors to our community and to our cause. And speaking of wonderful people, I want to talk just real briefly about our keynote moderator, which is Karen Abbott Trimuel. So Karen gave me some talking points about her that I'm not going to use because I don't need to use them. I have known Karen for a very long time, and we worked together and formed a quick bond and a really quick friendship. Karen is an extraordinary individual who is always looking to lift those around her in any way that she can. She formed two women's groups, Women Are Rising and Women All Rise Together. And these groups come together and lift one another, and we learn from our shared experiences, which is very aligned with what we're doing here today. She is an author, and her books are available for sale out in the lobby. She is a playwright. She also co-owns a business, an asphalt paving company with her amazing husband. She's an outstanding person, and you're going to benefit just from being in her presence here today. And so today also is Juneteenth, and I'm just going to be honest, and a few years ago, I didn't really know what Juneteenth was. And I don't think I'm alone in that. And so we wanted to show you a video first about what it really means to commemorate this day. So can you show the video? Thank you.
This world is one great battlefield with forces all arrayed. If in my heart I do not yield, I'll overcome someday. I'll overcome someday. I'll overcome someday. If in my heart I do not yield, I'll overcome someday.
Like the Civil War itself, slavery didn't end with one decisive act. After the Battle of Antietam in September 1862, President Lincoln issued the Emancipation Proclamation in January 1863. It declared all persons held as slaves within the rebellious states to be free. Northern abolitionists welcomed the proclamation as a first step, while Southern slave owners ignored it. Ending slavery would take a constitutional amendment passed in January 1865, Robert E. Lee's surrender at Appomattox in April 1865, the heroism of many enslaved families, and the Union Army itself to personally deliver the news to the most remote corners of the conquered Confederacy.
The proclamation that Lincoln signed didn't find its way into Texas, which is where my father's family is from, and the Rambo family, until mid-June of 1865.
On June 19th, Union General Gordon Granger arrived in Galveston and personally delivered the news.
The people of Texas are informed that, in accordance with the proclamation from the Executive of the United States, all slaves are free. This involves an absolute equality of personal rights and rights of property between former masters and slaves, and the connection heretofore existing between them becomes that between employer and hired labor.
There was a lot of celebration, but there was also a lot of sadness, a lot of concern, a lot of fear. Both enslaved Africans and those who held slaves didn't know what really to do now. As freed Americans, where were we to go?
"150 years later, June 19th is a day of remembrance and celebration.
I think my first Juneteenth celebration was when I was 6 or 7, because I remember roasted ears of corn. And this was in Austin, Texas. And then coming here, I was surprised and really astounded to find out that Minneapolis, St. Paul have such a strong connection with Juneteenth. It stands to reason with the number of people who probably migrated this far north who brought with them that tradition.
Every year in Texas, Minnesota, and around the country, Juneteenth is marked with music, food, and fellowship.
We are celebrating at Mississippi Regional Park. There's all ages here. I just see all kinds of people and colors.
It's amazing to me that, especially among the African American culture, we have a little bit of a fear of embracing that history, because there's some shame connected to slavery. I don't feel that way. I feel that that is such an important part of who I am as a person. The strength that I have within me comes from that struggle.
African American Independence Day. Absolutely. We're celebrating. Yep. Our day of liberation, our day of liberation.
It's important to have opportunities for us to celebrate our oneness, our wholeness, our completeness, our dynamic selves. It's vital to African American people to have an opportunity, a date that heralds the importance of who we are as a people and what we've been through as a people.
Juneteenth gives African American communities a chance to reflect on their ancestors' struggles and achievements, and also to spotlight current issues.
There is a lot going on in this world. There's a lot of anger, a lot of frustration, and a lot of uneasiness. The foundation you have can kind of give you a little bit more of a sure footing, because you can look and say, well, wait, my family made it through this hatred. Somehow they made it through. Yeah, so take that strength and go up to the next level.
I love seeing the support that I get every year. It's always new people I'm meeting and hopefully collaborating with them so we could have Juneteenth and not let it die. It's so important.
If in my heart I do not yield, I'll overcome someday.
Good day, everyone. Good day. That's what I want to hear. This is a day of celebration. Really, every day should be a day of celebration. You know why? Because we're part of it. We're in it. We're here. First, I want to begin by giving Jamie Maravich and the United Way of Greater McHenry County a round of applause. Everything has its first. And this is a first for the United Way of McHenry County and McHenry County overall for what we're doing today. A lot of times when we hear about a celebration for a certain culture or a certain event or people, we don't know what to expect. So we have turnouts that sometimes are not as full as what we expect, but it is because of the unknown. We don't know what's going to be said. We don't know what's going to be done. So sometimes fear sets in and you want to let someone else go first and be the first there. And then next year it will grow and grow and grow. So I have a call to action for all of you. When you leave here today, tell someone about what you experienced, what you heard, what you saw, and next year invite them to come back. Okay? Are we in agreement? I love it, love it, love it. Well, Juneteenth is a very commemorative time and holiday. Though we know that on June 19th, the people of Galveston were told that they were free, but it actually took an entire year for that message to get through the entire Texas. Can you imagine working for 2 years, slaving for 2 years, and not knowing that you don't have to, not knowing that you are free? But on the flip side of that, can you imagine being told that you are free and having no place to go? Having no money to take care of yourself? Having fear set upon you? So it's more than just being told that you are free. It's also about what happens on the other side of that. And when we come together and have discussions like what we're having today, it helps us all as a society. It helps us to grow. It helps us to be more cohesive. It helps us to be more understanding. I am honored to be asked by Jamie and the United Way to moderate this event. It is an honor. And it is also an honor for me to present our panelists for today. We have a video.
Karen Moses is a native of Chicago, Illinois, with over 25 years of professional business, leadership, and consulting experience. She has had a successful career as a former banking executive and a social media technology leader. She also owns and operates the Apricot Lane Boutique in Algonquin, Illinois. Karen is passionate about contributing to the growth of her community through her boutique and envisions making a positive impact. Alex Campbell, a longtime Crystal Lake, Illinois resident, has been actively involved in various nonprofit organizations for 25 years. He held leadership roles in Home of the Sparrow and the National Alliance on Mental Illness, NAMI, of McHenry County. Alex also co-founded the Youth Empower Alliance and contributed to the Suicide Prevention Task Force. Alex currently runs a consulting practice, EMK Consulting, LLC, where he provides services to behavioral health organizations. Joseph Lewis serves as the operations manager of his family-owned business, the Irie Cup, a premium loose leaf tea company in Huntley, Illinois, alongside his wife, LaShonda Lewis. Before becoming a business owner, he managed teams at Fortune 500 companies, including UPS, Lowe's, and CarMax. Joseph is dedicated to giving back to his community and actively seeks ways to make a positive impact. Sebastian Morales is an experienced clinical social worker who has significantly impacted the lives of youth and families. His roles include serving as a clinical social worker at the Youth and Family Center of McHenry County and interning at Nakasa Behavioral health services. His passion for making a positive impact in the lives of others and within his community has inspired hope and change. I have had the pleasure of visiting the Apricot Lane Boutique, and I am addicted. But let me first begin by saying, Karen, you have a beautiful name. Thank you. Right? And we are the good Karens. They have tried to destroy our names. I also had the pleasure of visiting Irie Cup tea. Am I right? Irie Cup tea, yes. Also addicted. You have to visit their tea shop. We have some extraordinary panelists, and we're going to have a great discussion. You know, the urgency of bridging the gap in race relations cannot be overstated. It is a pressing need of creating a more inclusive and equitable society. By initiating open and honest discussions about race, we can swiftly increase understanding, empathy, and awareness of the challenges faced by different racial and ethnic groups. This immediate action can lead to the development of policies and practices that promote equality and justice for all. We are going to begin this discussion with a few questions for our panelists. I thought about these questions really hard, and I want to pose my first question to both Joe and Karen. But Joe, I want you to answer first, if you don't mind, and then we'll move on to Karen. Okay. As new business owners in McHenry County, what factors influenced your decision to open your businesses in Huntley and Algonquin?
Well, first, I want to say I'm super honored to be on this panel. I had to have the opportunity to share some experiences, but my wife and I started this company, the Irie Cup. It's a loose leaf tea company, with the mission to share our family's traditions, culture, and loose leaf tea, some of the wellness benefits of loose leaf tea. I first moved out to this area maybe about 8 years ago or so for work. I was working with Lowe's as one of the store managers, and fell in love with this area, and but not necessarily like I wasn't really involved in the area so much. After moving on from those companies and fast forward to the pandemic, we wanted to find ways to reach our target audience, and so we thought farmers markets would be a great way to do that. And we went to different areas like St. Charles, Elgin, and other parts of Chicago, but for some reason in Huntley, we were just very, very, very well received. People kind of like just latched onto our story and understood, you know, the genuineness and how we were sharing and things like that, and just created some beautiful relationships with the village, with some of the people that also some of the residents and other business owners, and from those relationships, we just felt a sense of peace, safety as well, with having a family-owned business in McHenry County, and so the major thing was really the people. That was a major thing. The major deciding factor. Apart from our family, because our family, we wanted to stay close to our family as well. We didn't want to have to drive and commute. Growing three children, 11, 14, and 16, we wanted to make sure that we were very much still a part of our kids' life, and so. But the people in Huntley just so warm and receptive to who we were and what we offered was one of the major deciding factors.
Karen?
Likewise, I have to echo Joe. It is an honor and a privilege to be part of this conversation, especially in McHenry, Illinois. We started out as well in Huntley as residents. We lived in Huntley for 16 years, and I must say the experience in Huntley really did set the stage for what we would do in the future. When we first came to Huntley, it was because I had a job in Rockford, and I said I'd go as far as Huntley, but I don't see myself living in Rockford, even though Rockford is a beautiful place. Nonetheless, some of the driving forces were, as I was in corporate America, I knew ultimately I would want to do something in the community that I lived in. So all the years we were in Huntley, I never connected with the community, although it was a great experience living there. And when we moved to Algonquin, I then made a shift from corporate America and decided to open up Apricot Lane Boutique. And the major driving force was the experience, knowing that this community in general embraced me as someone who could be different, but now we're very diverse, more diverse than when we started out. And another driving factor was I did not see a lot of Black business owners out here. They may have been here, I just didn't see it. And I felt if I were ever gonna do anything like run a business, why not do it in a community that already embraces you as a resident? And it has been truly a good experience thus far. And I look forward to now establishing roots in doing more community work within this community. So when I was in corporate America, lived in the community, but worked outside the community. I was served on many boards in corporate America, none of which, except for a couple, were in McHenry County. I did serve on the United Way of McHenry County, was a graduate of Greater Leadership, McHenry County as well. But my litany of nonprofit is outside of this community, and now I do want to establish those roots and grow them deep in such a rich community like this.
Thank you both for that. If there were any opposition, challenges, or fears, can you talk to us a little bit about that? Can I start with you, Karen?
Absolutely. I love this question because Karen had the privilege, and as well as Jamie, of a conversation we had over the phone when they were planning this extraordinary event. And I sadly have to say in 2024, as much as my resident experience was amazing, I didn't know what my business experience would be. And so sadly, I had to think about it. I said, well, if I invest all the time, energy, and money, how will it be received? Will I, unfortunately, show up at work one day and have something negative happen? I'll share a real quick story. The first day I did open, I showed up early. I was very early, and I saw a pickup truck in the driveway of the Commons, is where my boutique is located, in the Algonquin Commons. I've seen pickup trucks in McHenry County. People in my family have pickup trucks, but for some reason, this particular one kind of instilled a little fear in me. So I waited a little bit in my car, and then I said, I gotta stop being paranoid. Let me just go inside. But mind you, it's very early on a shopping center parking lot, and it's you and this pickup truck. So I go up to the door and put the key in. The pickup truck starts up with a real vibrant engine and zooms past me, and I immediately froze. Now, mind you, that guy was probably not even thinking about me, but I really had in that moment of fear that I personally had never experienced before. So when you talk about apprehension, those were the things I was concerned with. Will I be welcomed as a business owner? And I'm pleased to say I have not had, to my knowledge, an overt experience where I can say I was treated this way because of the color of my skin or because I'm Black. But I had to just stop myself and give my community a little bit more credit. So that was one experience that I look back and I say, why am I doing that?
Thank you for your honesty.
Yes.
What about you, Joe?
Absolutely. I think that was something that was in the back of my mind, in the back of my wife's mind, as we were planning to open a store location, but even in the process of going to different farmers markets and interacting with different people, we would come across various reactions. There would be the one that was overwhelming was like, "We're so glad you're here." And sometimes we would be like, "We're shocked to hear that," you know, but that was the number one response. But then there would also be a response of just kind of like, you know, I'm not really going to look at you, or I'll just pass your table and go to someone else's table, or what have you. And so there was some, I think we had that in the back of our mind, like, what if? You know, it's all the what ifs of what can happen. There's already a lot of what ifs when you're starting a business or trying to expand a business. But we had that thought. But I think what gave us peace was having taking the time to build those different relationships within the community of Huntley, within the village, making relationships with the police department, you know, relationships with other business owners, and we kind of like were pulled into that community of business owners and village representatives, and they were all kind of like just looking out for us, and we appreciated that so much, and you know just like we just wanted to we show our appreciation by showing up for those businesses as well, and making sure that we represent that we represent an outstanding business, like everything that they say that we are, you know, and be true to ourselves as well, because that's part of the uniqueness that we bring as well.
I can agree with both of them. Me and my husband, we own an asphalt paving business, and we do commercial and residential properties. So we have all this great big equipment. Like, I go get on and take pictures. That's about all I do. And call myself the boss with my pink hat. But sometimes when my husband is out on big jobs, people come up to him and say, "Can I meet the owner?" Or, "Can you give me the owner's number?" And he says, "Okay, give me 1 second, let me go get him." And he says he runs around the equipment, comes back and says, "Here I am." But even with that, we get a lot of business because of the work he does. He's a perfectionist, and he'll go 2 hours out the way to do a job. People call him from everywhere just because of his reputation, his name, and his work. And once you get past that, you know, people don't know. And sometimes you can call it more ignorance than discrimination sometimes. Sometimes people are not really out to hurt you or do anything against you. Sometimes you just have to make light of the situation, kind of like what he does, runs around and said, "Okay, I'm here." So I want to thank you both for your honesty. And please support their businesses. Don't get addicted like me, but support their businesses. My next question is for Sebastian. As a social worker, what are your clients' most significant blockages or challenges regarding race relations?
Well, I want to say thank you again for giving me the opportunity to come out here. Yes, I am a social worker, even though it doesn't really look like it. Yeah, but I definitely think that when I think of McHenry County, we are a vast county. We span a lot of miles, and with that we're also kind of a county in a bit of transition. You know, we have municipalities like Wonder Lake, which is the #1 growing municipality in the state of Illinois right now. You've got really rural areas like Harvard, Marengo. You've got little hubs that look almost like Schaumburg, like Crystal Lake and Algonquin and Huntley. And so you have all these and everything in between too. So you have places that's just like super high concentration of people to really, really rural places. So in my work, I work really closely with, I work at an agency, the Youth and Family Center McHenry County, that we service. We are really proud to service the Spanish-speaking population. We serve all community members of McHenry County, but we really have an awesome, almost majority bilingual staff that can support a really wide array of clients. So we do get a lot of Latino clients. So with that in mind, what we see is just resources and kind of a lack of knowledge of resources. McHenry County has a wealth of resources available to the residents here. The only thing is that there's oftentimes a limitation about who knows about them. So it could be that maybe it's not distributed in multiple languages. Maybe it's just people don't know how to get that information out. So making information more available so that people know if I need food, this is where I can go. If I need housing, this is where I can go. Right now with the really, really intense heat outside, it can be really easy to forget about those who don't have AC units, who don't have access to cooling centers. If you live in the outskirts of Harvard, it can be really hard to get to the 2 cooling centers in that whole city. It could be really difficult to get to, whereas, if you're in a municipality like Crystal Lake, maybe it's more known, maybe there's access to those things. So really that aspect of access and just knowledge of those resources to the different communities.
Thank you for that. I love your hat.
Thank you.
So what are your thoughts on how people migrating into the communities are being perceived now?
I think that depends. I love kind of how Joe touched on the aspect of, when we came to farmers markets, some people welcomed us because of, we're so happy you're here, and other people were like, we'd rather turn an eye from you. I think you see a lot of that. I think right now there's a lot of just kind of misunderstanding. I love how you mentioned, rather than hate, it's ignorance. I think that we often can end up in situations where we don't know something, it's foreign to us, and it's more scary than anything. I think that that's really a place where a lot of people land. You don't speak the same language I do. You look different than I do. You dress different than I do. You eat different than I do. I think a lot of our clients that I've seen personally, they have an array of different experiences. I think the communities that they have are very welcoming and supportive. Usually they come because they know someone that made it out of Chicago, someone that made it out of their country of origin, and they moved out here. So I've got a friend, I've got a cousin, I've got an uncle who lives out there. So let me go see what Crystal Lake is like, what Marengo's like. And then from there, it's kind of little pods are growing, little pools of people, and it's really neat to see. I work really closely with a community out in Harvard where all of them are from one town in Mexico. So it's really neat to see that. But it's also neat to see how those communities help each other. And I think you touched on something that was really key, that aspect of it's not hate, it's ignorance. And you also touched on something, Joe, that was really cool, that aspect of showing them who I am and what I can do, showing you my business and what it represents. This is me and my work ethic. You may have a perception of me, but I'll show you who I really am. And I think that's one thing that we're seeing a kind of change in the communities. People who maybe were more close-minded might say, that's my neighbor. And they may not be how I always thought they were. There's also pushback, but I think more than anything, there's opportunity to show that.
Right. Thank you for that. I think sometimes we forget that we are more alike than different. As people begin to migrate even into this country, they're coming looking for a better place and a better opportunity. Not everyone is coming here to hurt anyone or to do harm to the country. And some people have been invited here, and again, they didn't know what they were coming to. And a lot of times we got to think about and put ourselves in their shoes and say, if I was in a foreign land, if I thought there was a better opportunity for me somewhere and I went there, how would I want to be perceived? How would I want to be treated? And it's not, if you don't feel like you want to really go over and beyond to help them, that's fine, but don't mistreat them. And I think that that's the message we want to get across for all people. Treat people the way you want to be treated. If you don't like something, if you don't like policies, if you don't like governance, whatever it is, there's ways to go about it. But I think we need to be more acceptable and understanding of other people. All right, I have a question for Alex. You look really nice and dapper, sir. Loving it, loving it. Alex, now that you have retired and started your own consulting business, have you faced any challenges related to age, race, or gender? And if so, can you share it with our audience? If not, have you witnessed others experiencing these challenges?
In thinking about the 70 years I've been around, and clearly there's no age discrimination. I'm composing this panel, me being on it. But no, I can't say that I have, but I do have a circumstance with our grandson that I think speaks to how important this panel and this event is. The And so I commend you, Karen and Jamie, for putting it together and really getting to know Karen, Joe, and Sebastian. Their perspectives really add so much value to the dialogue that we're having. So, thank you to them as well. Our grandson is the son of our oldest daughter, and they live just south of Boston. He's biracial. My daughter and son-in-law adopted our grandson about 9 years ago. He'll be 9 here in July. He's in 3rd grade, just finished 3rd grade, and back before the holidays, he was approached by one of his fellow students and asked if it was all right to call him the N-word. This is 3rd grade, and fortunately, and I'm not surprised, my daughter and my son-in-law have anticipated the potential of these situations. They, to their credit, have done a lot of study and what have you, and also worked with their son in order to how to handle these different situations. He responded by saying, "No, you cannot." He had a friend standing right next to him, and the friend said to this person who asked the question, "You can't say that. That's racist." Well, good for the friend. Unfortunately, it didn't end there. And several months later, about a month and a half or so ago, this friend who stood up for him offered 2 other classmates $50 to go up and make another derogatory comment to him. So what we're dealing with is, in my mind, is that we have a lot of work to do. Being 70 years old, I lived through the 60s and what have you, and the start of, that progress, though we have so much farther to go, the progress around equality and diversity and what have you. So what is meaningful about this event is that because we have so much work to do, at least we're having a dialogue to get that started. And that our hope, my wife's in the audience, our hope is that our grandson, while he'll probably encounter this along the way, that he'll retain the fact that he's of value, that he's special, and that the types of incidences that occur along the way will be minimal.
Thank you. I commend your daughter and your son-in-law for preparing him. It reminds me of an incident I had. I have a grandson. I know I look young, very young, but he is a senior in college, but he also lives in a predominantly Caucasian area. He lives in Highland, Indiana. And when he was a junior in high school, he gave me a call when he got home from school. He calls me Granny. So when we're at the stores, people look around like, who is he talking to? So he said, "Granny, I'm really upset." And what are you upset about? His name is Kyron, spelled like Karen with a Y. What are you upset about? He said, "Well, we had a assembly for Black History Month. And as we were sitting in the auditorium, they showed a film. And in that film, there were Black men hung from trees. And it stayed on that picture for a very long time. Well, my grandson has not seen pictures like this. This is not the things we celebrate." So he was so taken back, and he's such a kind soul that he was just so hurt. So Granny called the school and wanted a meeting with the principal. So me, my husband, my daughter, we all attended the meeting, and I began to talk to the principal about what that did for his psyche, his mental, how that is now ingrained. Those pictures are ingrained. But what we took away was the principal was so apologetic. He was so apologetic that he cried because he said, "I didn't think about that. I thought we were bringing the history and everything that When we left, my grandson said he got on the intercom, he apologized profusely. He removed that video from out of the school so it would never be shown again. And that's why we have to have discussions like today. That's why we have to talk. That's why we have to talk to each other. It would have been easy for us to get mad and go in there and, hey, you all are racist, you show. That wasn't his intention. It may have been the perception at the time. But had we not sat down and talked about it, we wouldn't have known that was not his intention. So I applaud your daughter and your son-in-law for teaching him. And these are discussions we have to have all the time. You know, I think it goes on more so with older people than younger people, because younger people don't come here like that. They don't, you know, I'm not going to say I don't want you to see my color. I do want you to see my color. It's beautiful. Please acknowledge all of me. Please acknowledge all of me. I don't want you to ignore my color. Difference is good. And how many times have your kids gone through something or bully situation or something and you say, it's okay to be different. It's okay to be who you are. That should spill over to everything. Everything. Thanks again, Alex, for your honesty. Okay, I have a closing question for each of you. Do you have one key message about race relations that you want to convey to our audience? Let's start with you, Sebastian.
All right. I think it's really easy for us to get comfortable in our own little community, to get comfortable in our households with our families, and we get stuck in like the normality of our day. I go to work, I take my kids to school, I do this, I do that, I do this, I do that. Monday through Sunday, it looks the same. And it's really easy to get caught in that normality. And I think one of the kind of more interesting things to see, we're in a political year right now, and there's going to be a lot of conversations about candidates and things like that. To talk about red versus blue states and what ideals and values are with a red versus a blue state or a red versus a blue county or city. Oftentimes, the most liberal cities can also become the most hateful places because people can act like they care about the LGBTQ plus community, about the black and brown communities, about migrant communities. But once you're faced with it and it changes the normality of your day, when you see a migrant with a cardboard sign asking for money and assistance because they don't have a work permit to work legally, and if they do work, they will be in violation of the U.S. law that then they would lose their asylee status and become an illegal immigrant. That when you see a person who doesn't look like you or who has different hair than you or just a different appearance than you, that's when it becomes the uncomfortable aspect of it, the part that makes you question things. So I don't care about red or blue, what you vote for, who you vote for, but truly it's that aspect of recognizing people are people, no matter what. And in the same manner that you maybe feel uncomfortable when you're encountering that person that looks different than you, that dresses different than you, that maybe has a different orientation than you, in that same manner, we have to think about that they feel uncomfortable too. So if you feel uncomfortable and they feel uncomfortable, how are we going to work together? I say this all the time, it's meet people where they're at. Meet people where they're at. And there's nothing wrong with ignorance. We have this kind of idea that ignorant is a bad word in culture, in our culture. Ignorance just means you don't know. We're all ignorant at times for different reasons. Embrace the ignorance and say, I don't know. Maybe I can find out. And who's the better person to answer than the person with experience? So come in with an open mind in every situation with every person that you meet.
Thank you for that. Yes. Joseph.
One of the things that struck me about the video, the 5-minute video about Juneteenth, was on Freedom Day, or when they were made aware, the slaves were made aware of their freedom. One of the glaring questions that they had was, where will we go? Yeah. Right? And that presented a lot of different circumstances for them and some circumstances that we don't necessarily have to deal with, but we still have that question when we're now made aware of our situation, our current situation, or other situation, their experiences. You have to ask yourself, where will we go, right? And I think the perfect place to start, if we're going to unify each other, be unified with each other, sharing experiences, being empathetic, is it starts at home. One of my greatest joys and proudest things that I'll ever do in this life is be a parent. And whether you're young or old, everyone has parents. And I think it's a deep responsibility to inform our children, not to be dismissive, not to be elusive of what has happened or the current climate, or not to be sheltered so much that they don't understand or have the empathy of others' experiences. I think 2020 really highlighted the fact that a lot of people don't understand the plight of other races. And so, one example that I can lean on with my dad is that he never shied away from putting us in the best possible positions, even if it meant being in a different community. And I was blessed to be able to attend a magnet school in Chicago, one of the top magnet schools. But it was in Mount Greenwood, which is predominantly white. But those experiences taught me to appreciate the music, culture, food of other people, because what we had in that school was, not only Latino, but we had Caucasian, we had Polish people, and so it really taught me to appreciate and to understand other cultures. And I think through that, it builds respect. It builds respect and it builds appreciation. And at the end of the day, I can look at that person, although different, maybe different interests, but I can respect what you do, where you come from, and who you are. And I think if you don't do that, if you don't expose your children to that type of environment, you can easily dismiss or have a lack of understanding or respect for those different sectors of people, and maybe even have this mental hierarchy kind of thing, complex. And so I think it really starts at home. And I'm not just talking about, I'm talking about any family. Our children, we expose them to different things, and they have they have different experiences with different people, and they build this respect for people, respect for culture. And so I think that question, where will we go, is a question that we do together. It's we, where will we go together as a unified body with this new awareness, creating new opportunities, having conversations, and being intentional about how we shape our future. So,
thank you for that. Alex?
Sebastian and Joe, you're a tough act to follow, that's for sure. But to me, it's about dealing with perception and what's called unconscious bias. And just as an example, and in preparing for this, I was thinking, I'm talking with my wife about it too, about, again, getting back to my daughter with our grandson, and when someone hears about the fact that this white couple adopted a black child, and would some minds go to the fact that, well, they're out there helping this black child who's probably in an impoverished situation, and bailing them out, so to speak, and that's perception. The reality in this case, just as an example, is that my daughter and her husband just wanted a child. there was no guidelines in terms of gender or race. They just wanted a child, and the circumstances developed where our grandson came along. The other aspect of it is that his birth mother and their family were extremely wealthy. So it's really, so what does that mean? So it means then that kind of, to the extent you can, be intentional, check that bias or perception, kind of review internally, where's my mind going on this? Where have I been conditioned to how to think about the situation? And take a step back and, you know, good old Steve Covey with his 7 habits of highly effective people and what have you. One of them was seek first to understand and then be understood. And, you know, at the end of the day, we're all God's children, and we're all the same in many respects in the sense we have life challenges, right, and circumstances, but we're all very unique. And so if we just appreciate the fact that we're, again, we're all God's children, that we start to be open to, again, checking that perception and conscious bias, think about what it is, and then put that aside and then learn about who it is that you're communicating with and having a relationship with.
Thank you, Alex. Karen?
Well, I must say I usually like to go last so that I can leave a lasting impression, but everything that has been said has been said beautifully, so I'll just wrap up by saying that in that understanding, challenge yourself to really be authentic. At the core of who we are, we're just human beings. All of us want to be loved, we want to be accepted, and most of all, we want to be understood. And so I do challenge all of us, and even myself, when we are checking those biases and checking ourselves, when we come face to face with someone, let's not have this mindset of knowing who we're about to approach, which is a stereotype. And let's just meet each other at that basic core level of just wanting to know, who is this that stands in front of me? And oh, by the way, this is a business owner, this is a business owner, this is a business owner who happens to be Black in my case. And I'm not saying that to minimize, because we are extraordinary people just as you all are. At the same time, they'll meet me where I am. If you come into my store and you're seeking something that I am selling, I am a business owner in that moment. I think that the logical thing to do would be to understand me as a business owner in that moment. And as we get to know each other authentically, we will evolve to know all the other facets, which are equally beautiful. And so that's what I will leave behind, the authenticity of understanding, and really put the desire in you if you don't even have it. Some of us, we think it's too peoply outside, but let's just truly endeavor to meet each other as a human being and understand that part.
Thank you, Karen.